All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's up, everybody? Big Marley 3 from SHIPIT Nation here to break down the Week 15 NFL Tiers Slate for you guys. We have a big day today with 3 NFL games and a UFC pay-per-view, and then we get to dominate another NFL slate tomorrow. You get all sports for one price over at SHIPITNation.com, and it only costs about $2 a day. We have members and staff posting big wins in the Discord every night, and it is the best Discord in the industry. Go sign up if you haven't yet and get in on these big wins. All right, let's get into this Week 15 tier slate. This week we have Josh Allen as our clear top projected quarterback in Tier 1 right now. This game is the highest total of the week at 50.5, and the Bills are 2.5-point home favorites. Allen has Stephon Diggs in Tier 3, and he will be my favorite guy to stack with this week. He also has James Cook in Tier 7, and he's coming off his best game of the season, scoring 25 DraftKings points last week, and most of that was through the air. He caught all 5 of his targets for 83 yards and a touchdown. He could be stacked with Allen as well, and that will make it a more contrarian Josh Allen lineup. And then if you want to get even more contrarian, you can stack him with Gabe Davis from Tier 8. He should be very low owned this week after putting up his third 0-point game in the last 5 weeks. And then we have Dak Prescott on the other side of the ball. And we can stack up this whole game if we want to, because his skill players are in different tiers than the Bills players are. Dak has CeeDee Lamb, who might be an auto stack for my Dak lineups this week, and he is in Tier 2. And then he also has Tony Pollard in Tier 6, who should be lower owned, and he had 8 targets last week, which makes him stackable as well. I also like a mini stack with any 2 or 3 of those 5 skill players if I'm not stacking up the quarterbacks. And then this is actually the order right here of our projections this week currently. So we have Patrick Mahomes up next, and I expect him to be low owned this week after averaging only 15 DraftKings points the last 6 weeks. That makes me have a little bit more interest in him, though. And he has Travis Kelce to stack with in Tier 3. He also has Rashee Rice in Tier 7, and he is averaging over 20 DraftKings points the last 3 weeks. They also don't have a running back to really steal the touches and take the touchdowns away from Mahomes, so that kind of makes me like him more as well. And then I do like Rice in this T7 tier this week, but if you want to, you could go with Mahomes to Kelce and then run it back with Ezekiel Elliott if you want, and he should have another big workload again this week with Ramondre out. He had 22 carries last week. He also had 8 targets as well. So I think he will be a popular play in Tier 7. And I don't mind a mini stack with him and Kelce either, and just kind of avoid Mahomes if you want to do that. And then if I cut a quarterback from this tier, it will be Tua, but that is going to depend on the status of Tyreek Hill. If Hill plays, then I'll keep Tua in my pool, and he has Hill in Tier 2 to stack with, and that injury should bring his ownership down if he does play. He also has Jalen Waddle in Tier 4, who should get a bump up if Hill ends up sitting. And then he has both of his running backs as well, who I'd be fine pairing one of the running backs with one of the wide receivers, along with my Tua lineups, assuming Hill plays. He has Devon Achane in Tier 4, but he does have that Q tag. Raheem Mostert is in Tier 6. And if Achane ends up sitting this week, then Mostert probably ends up being my highest owned player in this tier. And if Hill and Achane are both out, then I will just X2 out of my player pool most likely and load up on Mostert and mix in a little bit of Waddle instead. I mean, also. But if I X him out, that'll just be a smaller player pool, and I always like that. And then I will X out one or two of these quarterbacks in tier 5 as well. I'm a correlation freak, and Kyler Murray has 0 pass catchers on this tier slate this week, so he will be the first person that I X out. And then these other 5 guys do have stack partners available, but I usually like to use 3 or 4 guys from this tier if I can. Purdy is our top projected currently, and he has all of his guys available in tiers this week. He has Christian McCaffrey in tier 2, and he is in a great matchup and should be very chalky this week. He has Deebo Samuel in tier 3, and he has averaged almost 33 DraftKings points the last 3 weeks. He also has Brandon Ayuk in tier 4, and he had 148 receiving yards against this Cardinals defense in week 4. And then he also has George Kittle in tier 8. If I am using Purdy, then I am looking to stack him with at least 2 of those guys, and I'd be fine with any combination of the 4. Sam Howell is next up, and he is averaging 39 passes per game on the season. He only has 1 stack partner available, though, and that is Terry McLaurin in tier 8. But Scary Terry is one of my favorite plays in that tier this week. And we could just use him as a run back if we want to. And then we could use Matthew Stafford in tier 5 instead of Howell. And this is a great matchup for him and his wide receivers. We have Cooper Kupp in tier 2, who is coming off a big game. And then we have Puka Nacua in tier 3. I do want Stafford paired with at least one of those 2 guys, but I also do like Kyron Williams a lot from this tier 3. So I'd be fine with a Stafford to Kupp and then throw in Williams as well. You could also just do Stafford to Kupp and Puka Nacua. But I like triple stacks there. I expect Stafford and Purdy to soak up most of that ownership in tier 5, though. So if you want to get different, you can just go away from those guys. And then Justin Fields is next on the list, and he has DJ Moore in tier 6. Moore does have that Q tag, though. So if Moore is out, then I will just be Xing Fields out of my player pool as well. If Moore plays, then I'll make a rule that Fields and Moore are attached, and I just want them together for all my Fields lineups. And then the last guy is Jordan Love. And before last week, he put up 3 good games in a row, and he does have a good matchup here. He only has 1 stack option this week, though, and that is Romeo Doubs in tier 8. And I personally prefer Howell to McLaurin over Love to Doubs if I am stacking in those 2 tiers personally. But once I get all of my stacks figured out, then most of my lineup is already built for me. And then I can just plug in my favorite plays around that. My full player pool will be posted over at SHIPIT Nation with notes on each player that I am using and what lineups I will be using them in. We also have that last UFC card of the year tonight. All of my DFS content is posted for that as well. You get all sports for one low price, so you can play more and pay less. I will be back with afternoon and primetime slate breakdowns, but if you guys could hit that like and subscribe button for us, it really helps out. Good luck on this Tiers Slate. I hope to see some SHIPIT logos up top. Thanks for listening. Go ship something.